Welcome back to the Path Talk Show. I'm your host, Justin Holland, and today I'm with my co host, Emmanuel Santoso.
Good to be back here again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to
It's a
have
new
you.
year.
And yeah, it is a new
Yeah.
year.
So let's get right into it, eh?
Definitely. Well, one thing I actually wanted to talk about where a lot of people tend to struggle is how to start the year right in 2025. Because I know in previous years, a lot of people always look to New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny to sort of talk about this topic because last year during December was the year where I felt like 2025, it was going to be a rough start. I don't know why I had this gut feeling, but I had a feeling that it was going to be a rough start. So what I decided to do was go through all the books that helped me throughout my years, especially from 2020, 2021, 2022, and onwards, right? And the first book I decided to reread was The Atomic Habits, right? Because there's a lot of things I've learned from that book, but some of them I didn't really sort of get to understand it fully. And one of the things that Atomic Habits by James Clear mentioned and really stood out to me was create systems. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that. Like
Yes.
creating a system, sort of like a routine in order to sort of structure your day to day routine, your lifestyle. And like I said, like back in December, I strictly focused on trying to figure out, all right, what books do I need to complete before getting into 2025. And honestly, after reading The Atomic Habits, I reflected, I journaled, and I was able to create a system. What I want to do, I want to try to complete 20 books. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to start reading every night, right? Before I go to bed. And honestly, already, and it's not even like, it's not even February yet, right? I've already completed 3 books. And I'm truly like, it sort of gives me chills a bit because this is something that I was doing back when I was in high school, right? And it felt like I was in that stage of like that sort of freedom in some sense. Because during high
Mm.
school, you're not really tied to anything, right? And I sort of had that feeling again, and I really missed that. So one thing that helped me out, especially planning for this new year, was creating a system, and one of the systems was reading. Yeah, and I've still got plenty of more to go, but I'm still, still in the course of taking that sort of action.
Yeah, that's it. And systems are super important in matter of being able to achieve your goals because with just you chasing your goals alone, sometimes you're just chasing your tail around in circles.
100%,
But
yeah.
being able to create systems helps you have more drive with your purpose. And I know I found this through personal experience, especially starting wrestling and also starting a podcast, is sometimes you just need to go out and take the action
Mm,
because a lot of people tend to just plan ahead way too much to the point where they never end up taking the action
mm, mm.
and they always regret not being able to do so. So it's important first to be able to take the action,
Mm.
get to get that pure understanding where you're getting yourself into, right? Especially someone who doesn't have the networks behind them.
Yeah.
They feel like they don't know how to start. But by being able to take the action by starting a podcast, starting a journey in jiu-jitsu, wrestling, or whatever you like to pursue,
Mm.
that's when you start developing your connections.
Yeah.
And then from there, you get a better understanding what you're heading into so you can plan for it. And each time you take that action, you're able to create systems around it. And when you have those systems behind you after taking those actions, after reviewing everything you've done, you start to align yourself more with your purpose,
Mm.
where a lot of people tend to miss that point.
Yeah, that's right. And one thing about taking that action is understanding the difference between your motivation and as well as being disciplined, right? And I have, even with myself, there's times where I wanted to set a New Year's resolution. I wanted to, do the things that I want to sort of better myself, my own character development, right? and taking that action comes from motivation. Yeah, like you've become like, oh yeah, I'm locked in. I want to get into this. I want to get into this. I want to get into jiu-jitsu, or I want to get back into training. I want to start, reading. I want to start making money. Right, that action is there. Yeah, that motivation. Yeah, lasts for like maybe a month or 2 months. Right, that motivation is only temporary. Right, it goes away. It fades, and that's when discipline comes in. And one thing that I've learned throughout this whole experience, especially having that motivation until it fades away, one thing that I've learned is having people who are like minded like yourself, who have similar goals, who have similar attributes towards the things that you want to achieve. Those sort of surrounding yourselves with those sort of people will help you to move even further. Yeah. You won't even need motivation, just become disciplined. It had that friendly competition as well, especially in jiu-jitsu. When I started my jiu-jitsu journey, the first 3 months I sucked, man. I was just getting submitted every time, just white belt, right? You're learning. Until I was able to develop this sort of friendship with, the people at my gym, right? It motivated me more to learn, right? To keep on coming. And as well as the environment, you start to enjoy it more, right? People often think that doing something that's physically hard or mentally draining, right? They feel like it's depressing. They feel like, what for? What do I need to feel like this, right? But you have to sort of find joy in it, right? If you don't find joy in it, then you're gonna drown, right? Until you find that sense of joy in the things that you want to achieve, especially no matter how hard it is, you're going to you're going to achieve it. You're going to become more successful in the long run, right?
There's so
Especially
much
your
to unravel in
mentality.
that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I like what you said, you have to enjoy it.
Mm.
And there's this famous quote that I love: success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
Right.
And being able to be fulfilled with what you're doing is such an important element. And you speak about motivation and discipline as well. And yeah, a lot of people tend to have to be motivated to just get started.
Mm.
But in the long run, it's discipline what gets you through. And at the start of your journey, we come from a place of selfishness where we doing it for ourselves to be motivated by doing the things that we're wanting to achieve. But when the times go on and you start to develop more wisdom with what you're doing, you start to become from a place of more selflessness,
Mm.
where you're doing things beyond yourself. You're coming from a place of selflessness, where you want to help others achieve greatness in whatever they want to do. And what your client's success is your success. And being able to strive for something greater than yourself is one of my, well, I define one of the most greatest like disciplines. Is because you're focused on something beyond just yourself. And that could be in, like, let's say, jiu-jitsu you're speaking about. I can relate to it in wrestling, where you have a coach that has achieved the things that you'd like to achieve. You have the training partners who you grind with. And if you don't show up, you're not just letting yourself down, but you're letting your team down.
Mm.
And when you have that team behind you, that's what's going to help push you get to the next level. That's what's going to help you get to the next stage in your competitions,
Mm.
each training session. It's always you versus you, but it's also your teammates is what's going to help you get there. What's going to help you push through, and learning from those, like you said, that can fast track your progress to a dramatic pace.
100%. And one thing that sort of made me think about this one book that I've read called Way of the Superior Man.
Mm.
And one of the things that it says is acknowledging your friend's criticisms, right? Being able to take it. And that's why it's important to have a group of, male friends, especially for us guys, having just the boys, yeah? Those are the guys that's going to help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, right? And especially, and those are the guys that knows you better, right? They know you in and out. Yeah, having that group of friends, that's like having that sort of friendly competition. and as well as they're not afraid to tell you things up front, right? Especially when it comes to, let's say, in a workplace, or let's say, for example, in the trade, right? In a trade, and you know, like my brother or even a group of friends, right? These guys who works in trades, they take criticism, like they take it in. Some people feel like this is like threats, but at the end of the day, this all comes out of a place of love, right? Now it depends on, of course, the situation, but usually if you're really close with someone, right? Let's say they yell at you. They said, let's say they found that little bit of frustration. They find something that's doesn't make that knows that you're not gonna grow if you're gonna keep doing this, yeah. And they tell you in a certain way where you know makes you feel uncomfortable, but you will listen from it, right? Even when it comes to training, right? As a PT, like if I'm going to tell my client like this, your form's not gonna get you anywhere. You're gonna get an injury, right? It's not gonna look good. It's not gonna look good for you, but it's not gonna look good for me as well, right? So that's why like taking that sort of level of criticism is very important, and you can never sort of you can never look at it in a way where it's a threat. You gotta take it. You gotta look at it as in a place of love, yeah, and that's what's going to help growth.
No, I agree. And I love what you said about, especially the book, The Way of the Superior Man. It's such a brilliant book defining purpose and also how important your inner circle really is.
Mm,
And your true friends will always tell you the hard truth, no matter how hard it's going to hurt you.
mm,
Because from there, they're going to be there with you through thick and thin. And you know about it, especially like imagine if you were to go to hospital or you need to move places, who's going to be there for you during those times?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
most likely your close friends.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's rare to come by. And you just need to figure out who your true friends really are. And I was thinking about something that I was going to say to you, but I've now forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, competition is to conspire to help each other to become better.
Mm,
And that's like a Latin definition for it. So from there, people can conspire by, let's say, we're competing against each other to become better than we were yesterday,
mm,
better than the way we were last year. And
exactly.
I was training a client yesterday, and he said, "What do you think of my level today compared to last year?" And I told him like you're 10 times folds better than you were last year. He said to me, I would be able to take myself last year from the way I'm wrestling now. And it's quite inspiring when you think about it, especially when you can see your friends doing well,
Mm,
when you help them get better by competing with them, teaching them about tough love, and being able to be completely transparent with everything that you do.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. It pushes you. It pushes you even further. And as well as one thing that it does, it eliminates the sin of envy, right? That jealousy. And I think that's very important, especially at this day and age where we've got social media. We tend to compare ourselves with other people. We tend to feel a little bit, jealous of other people's successes, right? But I've never, like me personally, I've never sort of put myself in those positions, even though I do have that feel of like, oh man, if only I did this, I could be better than this guy. Like, there's times where I have thought of that, but I'd rather learn. And one of the things, especially in calisthenics as well, all the people that I've competed with or trained with, especially on social media, I'm like, wow, this guy's definitely improved. There's times where I feel like, oh no, I want to beat this guy, But at the same time, I want to learn, yeah. And it sort of shows that humility as well, being humble, and that's very important. It eliminates that sin of envy, that jealousy factor, right? And that's how you also build a strong reputation, and as well as be able to network and make friends as well. And especially within the calisthenics community, you know, I love the fact that all of us are basically one group of friends. Like we all
It's like a
understand each other.
family.
It's like a family, right? It's like a strong brotherhood, and that's one thing as well. Having a brotherhood is very important, and just the whole general factor of jealousy and comparing yourself to other people rather than just compare yourself to yourself. Really, compare yourself from who you are now and look back who you were last year, right? And if I look back at myself 2 years ago, I've definitely made improvements, and I'm grateful for all the times that I've suffered throughout my time. That is what formed who I am today.
Hmm. One thing that you said is like humility. And I always reflect upon like doing wrestling as a kid through my teenage years and also adult years, where sometimes you become a superior wrestler and you feel like you're the best in the room, you feel like
Mm,
you're top notch, but there's always someone around the corner to humble you,
100%, yeah.
to knock you off your porch, and then from there you realize I'm not there yet.
Mm,
I still need to improve. I still need to grow. I still need to expand myself. And that's the beauty of it, by humbling yourself and realizing you have to learn. And a lot of people play other victim or they do something about it and actually learn something from it.
yeah.
And I think that's an important element where you're bringing up, where you're always looking for a place to be able to grow and expand yourself by learning. And that's what's going to help you get further in life, by being able to do that. And if you continue down that path, imagine where you would be in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and imagine how much your connections will grow by the people you're surrounding yourself with. Like, I know for myself, I started off in a PCYC, not knowing that later on that I'm going to be training with world champions, Olympic champions, UFC champions, and seeing all these
Mm,
guys in their prime. But that's a matter of staying consistent to your craft and having that humility and surrounding yourself with the right environment. And I love what you said, because I can relate a lot to it when you said where a lot of people suffer from the sin of envy.
mm,
And I used to suffer from that when I was in my teens, where yes, I was envious of others, but I felt when that truly went away is when I turned to God. And I feel like when you give your heart to God, like he clears you from that sins
mm,
and he gives you that better, clear focus of direction.
mm,
And being able to put God first in everything you do and take the steering wheel is what's going to help you be able to get to you to where you need to go.
mm,
And I like one thing that Joe Rogan said, like on one of the reels, where he says, like, some of the most religious people are the most focused with everything that they do, because they simplify their life where they're focusing on the main things,
mm,
which is their relationship with God, training, and their career, and also their family. And they don't focus on anything else beyond that. And from there, having that clear sense of purpose is going to help you get you where you need to go.
100%. I feel that is absolutely true. Um, you're basically putting God in the center of your life, right? Everything you do is for God, right? When it comes to working on your spiritual faith, right? Going to church, practicing your faith, right? Through prayer, that's all for God. But as well as everything that you do when it comes to your training, right? You're taking care of your body, right? You know, you're appreciating God's creation, the way He made you, right? You're taking care of it, right? Your family, God has provided you a family that loves you, friends as well, right? And that is very important, and especially some of the goals that you want to achieve when it comes to careers, finance, right? Health, all of that. Being able to have God in the center of your life is very important, because the times where you feel like you're going through a heavy time, rough times, and those days are going to come, right? You gotta sort of take a step back and turn to God and ask Him, yeah. Having that relationship with God, especially on those tough times, right? That's what's going to help you not only just improve in your faith, but as well as to look at the good things that you achieved in life, right? Now, there's been times where we've all suffered, and there's been times where we all feel like all hope is lost, right? The one thing that we never really sort of think of is to find that gratitude, right? Find the times where we have lost, and many years ago, find times where we've lost and we've overcame that, and what we're feeling right now, especially when we feel down. How is this any different? You've been through this before, and especially whilst having God on your side, you sort of feel like you're unstoppable almost, yeah. And one thing that I say to myself, and I don't know where I've heard it from, but it sort of pushed me even further, especially through these hard, difficult times, was this phrase right here: God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors, right? And I read that on my phone. I read that almost every day. And hearing that just makes me feel like God has gave me this battle for me to grow. It's a test, right? And once I come out of it, I know that God will be very happy. The fact that I was able to go through such a rough, difficult time, to know that there's times where I could have sinned, there's times where I may have fallen into sin, right? But I've asked for God's forgiveness, yeah? And I've practiced on my faith. I went to church, I prayed, and until the day has came when I overcome what I was going through, I would always thank God, right? Just by having God by your side is very important, especially just going towards your purpose in life.
Mm, it's beautiful. I love what you said about like gratitude, and a lot of people tend to forget that part where we tend to forget to be thankful for all the little things that we have, like the roof over our head, the food we're about to eat, or the water we're about to drink, all the little things that we're given in our life. Sometimes we forget to be grateful for.
Mm.
And I feel once we have that gratitude, we come from a place of more appreciation of things, and we tend to receive a lot more abundantly in our life. I think one thing that was a game changer for me, where I felt extremely grateful for what we have, was going to India for the first time when I was like 16.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, it was like going to a third world country where I saw a lot of poverty, where people were suffering, and some people would even amputate their arm and legs just so they can get some more money. And from seeing even like animals suffer is what got me thinking like we don't realize how lucky we have it in Australia,
Mm.
and a lot of people take it for granted. Until you experience something like that, where you go to a third world country, we forever gonna be arrogant with everything that we have around us right now. But until we are able to humble ourselves and be grateful for all the things we have, you see the true beauty of life for what we really have. And like what you said, like God gives his like toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I give it out there to the people in the third world countries that are struggling and looking to be able to have a meal like at least even once a day, or if not, sometimes they don't even eat for weeks.
Mm.
I pray for those people that are struggling in these times, because until like you see it for yourself, those are like the strongest soldiers, the people that are suffering in the third world
Mm.
countries.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing as well, like, understanding the history with my parents, right? The way they grew up. Now, my mom, yeah, she grew up in Indonesia, and hearing about her story and how she grew up, it really gave me a perspective of how great I have it here. You know, my mom, like, she grew up without her parents, right? I know that her father left her, and her mother was in jail. She grew up with her grandmother, and with Indonesia, it's a Islamic country, it's a Muslim country, right?
Mm.
94% of the country is Muslim, right? So she was Muslim, she was Islamic,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So both my parents, they were born Muslims, right? And my mom, she started reading the Bible. I'm not sure how she got the Bible, but she started reading into the Bible, and she wanted to convert. Yeah, she didn't want to practice um, Islam anymore, right? She says all the prayers in Arabic, yeah, fluently.
Mm.
But then, yeah, she started reading the Bible, and she turned to Christianity, Catholicism, right? And during these times where she was growing up with her grandmother, they were basically homeless, right? The little things like taking a shower, she couldn't even take a shower. She had to use the bucket, right? To eat, she had to like go scavenge for. She didn't even go to school. Like that's pretty much how Indonesia was during her time. And you know, fast forward until my parents got married, they moved to Australia, right? And they moved to Australia because they want a better life. And I know a lot of people could understand that, right? I know there's a lot of um, Western Sydney, a majority of families out there, their parents moved from Iraq or Lebanon or even from Vietnam, myself, Indonesia. We all came to Australia because they want a better life for their kids, and that's why we're here, right? And there's the things that I encourage a lot of people my age really, to ask their parents, what have you been through? Why did you guys move to Australia? What happened over at your country, right? And it gives you a perspective, and it sort of brings a tear to your eye that your parents have gone through this, right? And the fact that they've moved from their country, their homeland, to Australia for a better life for us, we've never really sort of showed that appreciation for our parents, that the fact that they did this for us, yeah.
Mm.
um yeah, and just by asking, like talking to my mum, hearing about this story, that the way she grew up, man, it was like, man, there's no way that I would be able to survive that, right? And one thing as well that stood out to me here is being able to live very in that like sort of simple lifestyle, right? You don't need all these luxury cars and all that, right? Especially in these third world countries, right? These guys, they survive one meal a day, right? They survive just walking to the grocery shops or the fridge store, right? Uh, they go hunting, For us, we take advantage of it, We've got our phones, Uber Eats, yeah. We go in a car and go to Macca's, like this. We don't really sort of look at these things, especially
Mm.
when it comes to third world countries,
That's deep.
you know. It's
That's
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it's really deep. And you definitely gave me something to reflect upon where a lot of us don't know our parents' background stories,
Mm,
right? And we don't know the suffering and what they sacrificed in order to be able to give to us.
mm,
And a parent plays a big role in people's lives. Like, I don't even understand it because I'm not a parent, but I give it to gratitude to all those parents out there that sacrifice a big hold in order to be able to give for their family.
yeah.
What do you think is the biggest mistakes people make in order to become more successful or have a more successful mindset?
The biggest mistake would be, that's a pretty good question. Falling into that state of instant gratification, right? Now, there are so many ways, there are so many things that that is a gratification to for us, right? So whereas if it's fast food or lust or you know gossiping, there's so many things, right? And these are the things that's going to pull you down, right? And I feel like one of the biggest things, especially in this generation, and sort of instant gratification, would be social media, entertainment platforms such as Netflix and TV shows. Everyone, we like, even myself, like I've caught myself binging onto these things. I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't be watching this stuff. I shouldn't be, spending my whole day watching movies. Even though these movies might be like, thrilling, and it's like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna like it. It's a waste of time, really. Um, these are the things that sort of delays our success, right? And as well as it will impact the purpose that we have in our lives. These instant gratifications that we sort of have in our lifestyle, right, can really impact on the things that we do, our lifestyle, our routine, right? Let's say first thing in the morning, you wake up, you scroll through social media, like, that's delaying. You're basically going to scroll for like half an hour or close to 2 hours, maybe. You're wasting all that time. All that time you could have done push ups, drink, green juice,
Yeah.
take that cold shower. And that's it's just those little things, little small bad habits that will turn into a
Yeah.
greater habit where it will
Accumulates.
destroy our purpose, right? So, especially in this day and age where we have access to so many things, right? Even AI, right? Feeling lazy, you just hop on AI, do your whole assignment like that. Feeling lazy, even like for students, man, back like when I was in high school, like not, I'm not saying like I probably sound like old now, but of course we didn't have AI, but just those small habits where we want to cheat on ourselves and do a certain task that we don't feel like doing, all right? That destroys a part of ourselves where when we're going to achieve a goal and when we want to set, you know, when we want to be sort of, if we want to set goals onto a certain thing that we want to achieve, we're going to find an easy way out. Yeah. We want to find an easy way. And
Mm.
it's going to become a common thing, right? People are going to try to like cheat themselves in order to feel like to feel like they've fulfilled this sort of goal. But realistically, you've cheated, and it's going to be a common thing. And those little things, like using AI, or even scrolling on social media, it's going to impact that purpose that we have in our life, right?
Mm.
And it's it's destroying a lot of people, right? It's destroying a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
a lot of uh, this new generation that's coming up, this younger generation.
I was just reflecting upon that when you were saying that, like instant gratification and people looking for that dopamine hit.
Mm,
And it kind of brought back me to what you were bringing up earlier about reading Atomic Habits.
mm,
And a lot of us tried to put so much on our plate at one time when we were wanting to change, but it all just starts with one habit. Changing that one habit first and let that accumulate over time. Like, I know it takes about 60 to 90 days to form a new habit, right?
mm,
It's for it to be programmed in your mind in order to become a habit like you're brushing your teeth.
mm,
As long as you can focus on those one percenters each day or each month, you're gonna see it's gonna accumulate over time. Where it's all about making those small steps. It's like if I set a goal of wanting to be Olympic champion, I can't be Olympic champion the next week.
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna take 10 to 20 years in order for you to get there.
100%. Yeah.
So you just imagine how much work actually goes into that
Mm,
in order to make those positive changes through those habits.
mm,
For you said, like a lot of people wake up and they start scrolling on their phone. Like, what can be a better option for them to be able to wake up in the morning? Can they set a alarm clock and have their phone on the table desk so they don't have to go scrolling on their phone?
mm.
Can they focus on breathing for the next 30 days as soon as they wake up? What can you implement now in order to make that change in growth in your days? which
Yeah.
will accumulate in your weeks, your months, your years. And I think that's such an important thing. And then from there, it's the people that are around you, like you spoke about earlier. Like, we need the right influence around us in order to support us. And trying to, because I have so much thoughts going through my mind right now, it's crazy. But like, it's being able to become more proactive with our actions rather than being reactive.
Yeah.
And through those habits, we can become more proactive. Rather, like when you said you can do your assignments through your mobile phone now, through AI, like rather than going in and putting in the work and actually building more intelligence in yourself. Where I feel, yes, AI can help build your business, it can help you get great grades for your assignments. And yeah, I encourage it to a degree
Mm.
of using AI to your advantage, but not to the point where you're going to dumb yourself over time. You're not educating yourself no longer because you can just trust AI that's going to do
Yeah.
the job for you rather than you doing the work yourself in order to
Exactly.
grow. And from there, when you do the work in order to grow, that's when you become more proactive
Mm.
rather than becoming reactive and lazy through just scrolling on your phone. Okay, AI can do this for me. I don't need to do my research into this.
Mm.
Done. Post online, not really knowing or having any knowledge of what you're doing as a niche or a business,
Yeah. Yeah.
or even wanting to become like a champion in something. You need to like go out and do the work for it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's going to affect the next generation if they don't educate themselves
Exactly.
in today's era.
And that's the thing. Yeah. Educating yourself is going to be very important, right? You've got all the resources out there. You've got
Mm.
all the resources out there. You can create a whole, you know, a whole book about how you're going to, achieve this, right? And you can, you know, create all that. You've got all the answers, all the resources right in front of you. But if you just write it down and think that like, all right, I've got the book right here. If you don't actually go through it, then what's the point? You know, like a lot of people tend to do it like this. They go through AI or they find shortcuts, right? And that's what AI, like people use AI for, a shortcut. Yeah, not going anywhere, right? They're just going to run around in circles, really, until you take that action and actually use it in a way where you're going to benefit your lifestyle with this sort of source. Then that's where it matters, not just writing it down and not doing anything about it. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. That's why this next generation is going to it's going to be a lot harder for them, but it's just a matter of how you're going to make it a way where you're in control of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I just got a question. This doesn't matter if for someone that just wants to be average and wants to live a mediocre lifestyle, it's completely up to you. But for those that are looking to be able to make a change, what is the cost of being average and not being able to chase your dreams, even though you have big aspirations that what you want to achieve? What do you believe you need to do in order to achieve that success? It's a big question, but
It is a big question. But honestly, what I think that sort of achieving that level of success, no matter, you know, what it is, some people may look at it as if, having, a lot of money, or some people look at it as a stable career, or just having your whole family gathering around the dinner table. Um, One thing that is very important is your own self development, I'd say. Reason why is you want to be able to sort of surround yourself and be good with people, right? Networking, like making that sort of connections, and as well as building that level of respect from others, right? Um, of course, you don't want to be that controversial guy, yeah, always bringing up certain things and all that. You want to be someone who is understanding, right? having that sort of reputation, that's what's going to help you succeed in your life, no matter what it is, whatever goals you have, whether if it's being making a lot of money to, having a family to helping out the community. Your reputation must be solid, right? And that's one of the laws of power, the 48 laws of power. Guide your reputation at all costs, right? Never be foolish, right? Never be foolish. And you know, jokes are jokes, right? But the moment you say one joke is a bit different, it can really cause a different perspective of who you are, right? That's why being able to have that level of respect from other people, no matter whether if they're millionaires or if they're just another person that you've encountered at work or at church, at jiu-jitsu, right? You want to be able to be known as a good person, right? A person who has goals, a person who has a purpose to focus on achieving that level of success, whatever it could be.
Mm,
And I feel like that's very important.
interesting. And I was just reflecting from our conversation earlier before this episode started, where I won't mention this guy's name who wanted to start a podcast, and he reached out to me, and I gave him Nick, who is the producer of Better Media, and he wanted to do something but never took the action. And I think one of the most beautiful thing about today, especially in this age, everything's so accessible now with just your mobile phone. You just need to start going out and recording yourself doing something if that's something you want to do on social media,
Mm,
building your influence by being able to inspire people, understanding people's problems and what is the solution to their problems. What are their daily struggles in a deeper level where you are able to communicate with them? Because communication is such an important tool. And you see, the most successful jobs are, or even like businesses, evolve around communications.
mm,
So you can focus on developing on your communication skills. That's what's going to help increase your reputation, help increase your value by being able to focus on these valuable things in our life.
mm,
And I think once we are able to realize that and just be able to just go out and achieve these things, because we're living in a time and age where everything is accessible. Like you can get a coach for anything. Like for example, if you want to start a podcast, you can seek Nick, where he's done over 300 plus episodes, or they can seek you for calisthenic advice, or being able to look like you because you have that experience. Me for wrestling, because I already achieved the things that I've achieved in wrestling. Where before it was hard to find these things,
mm,
to be able to start a podcast. Like probably 10 years ago, you wouldn't even know where to start.
mm, mm.
But now you know, where you have people being able to create courses around this,
Yeah.
or seeking your help to be able to get PT in order to become a calisthenics athlete.
Mm,
And I think that's just the beauty of it now, where we live in a different world compared to where it was without social media.
yeah. It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the next steps in your journey anyway?
The next steps, there are some big ones, but some of them I gotta keep it on the low.
That's fine.
But honestly, it's just being able to focus on PT business and being able to grow that whole my whole client base online as well. And I'll be finishing up my university studies soon,
Oh,
so
beautiful.
that'll be pretty good. Um, but realistically, just my own self development. Like I said, there's that Atomic Habit book, Atomic Habits. That's really that's pretty much going to be the main book I'll be reading and going back to throughout this whole year, because I'm wanting to improve on my own daily habits and as well as refining my goals and my purpose at least fortnightly. So It'll be pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, there's plenty of things I'm doing at the moment. So, as you can see, I'm helping develop the future generation of wrestling athletes.
Yeah.
So, I started a school holiday program as well as coaching wrestling at schools at least like once a week. So, I'm teaching at your old like high
Yeah, yeah,
school.
yeah.
So,
That's crazy.
teaching them how to wrestle and being able to build a community around that because like, I feel wrestling is something that can help keep you away from the streets and give you a great lifestyle by being able to travel the world, achieve great things within the sport, and be able to open yourself up to many opportunities just by being an athlete.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me personally, and for those that have achieved like good things in their career, where let's say if you made like Commonwealth Games or these type of events, people treat you different.
Mm.
They respect you a lot more because they understand how much sacrifice you'd had to go through in order to achieve this amount of success. And I want to be able to give that to the future generation as well as build on this channel as well. I'd like to be able to do podcasts and also more of a talk show. So that'll
That'll
be
be
my next
awesome.
step.
Talk shows.
Yeah, just talk about like trending stuff and things that obviously will take interest in the community. I think is such a big thing, as well as being able to do a bit more travel and also deepen my faith. I feel is a big one.
That's gonna be a big one, hundred
Yeah,
percent. Yeah.
because I'm currently reading through the Old Testament, but I'm also took a great interest in more the historical Jesus, like
Oh wow.
who
Yeah.
he was as a person on during this time on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that's from something that I want to be able to probably educate people on in the future is like the historical Jesus, where obviously we know the mystical spiritual Jesus, but a lot of us don't know the history
Mm.
of his like life,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
100%.
takes a huge fascination for me. So I think that's the big things I look to do this year.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward for it,
Yeah, it'll
eh?
be fun.
That's good.
I just want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Cool.
Needed a pee so bad.